One person's grind is another person's groove, and this was beyond my grind. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Quality of Life Quest. My name is Anneke. Today's episode, work that drains or work that fuels. Well, today we go straight to the heart of the Quality of Life Quest. Yesterday, my quality of life was absolutely rubbish. I tried to set up a Google business account. And I don't know if you've ever tried it. Most people set up their email and things once and that's it. Maybe they decided at some point in time to change over to another provider. Not that there are that many these days. But I wanted my business account to be absolutely separate from my normal accounts. It was a nightmare. It was an absolute nightmare. I don't normally swear. Ask my children. I generally don't see the point of it. And yesterday I had my personal best. Now you would say the bar of that must have been very low, and it was. The bar of that is very low, but man, did I exceed it. It was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. I went to see my daughter and I told her to put on a suit of armor because I was going to let rip, and it had nothing to do with her. She had no idea what was happening, what I was doing. But I just needed to offload. Anyway, my daughter came to my rescue. She looked over my shoulder as in, what is going on? What are you doing? And then she kind of waved her hand to tell me to move over and that she would take control, which she did. And even my daughter was surprised by some of the things she had to do or not do, or the loops you end up in. Anyway, for me, it was horrible, but she helped, and it is now done. I've set up all the social media accounts that I needed to set up, so it's done. And the tank was absolutely empty. I was pooped. I had to go to bed and sleep. That's how this impacted me. I went from frustration to anger, and from anger back to frustration, and that was my personal loop, I think. Anger and frustration. It just kept on going and it kept on going, and every time you think, oh, you make a little bit of progress, there was none. And it is just so not my thing. It is so not my thing. I hate it. I despise it. In this particular case, I had done a similar episode over 6 months ago. So it's now July and I'd done it in January. So yeah, definitely 6 months ago. And I got stuck then. Google blocked my account whilst I was setting it up. How is that possible? And it took forever and a day to get in touch with them, to get them to answer my emails or anything. It was horrendous. So that took 2 months or something. Yeah, it must have been 2 months before the dust kind of settled there, and I just didn't have the energy to try again. This was me trying again and failing. Thank you to my daughter. I did thank her profusely. Every time, while she was sitting, while she was taking control and sitting behind the computer or in front of the computer, whichever way you look at it, every time she did something right, as in according to the computer, every time I gave her a little kiss on the head, and I kissed her so often. Anyway, it is so not my thing. And my background is as an engineer. That was my first education. So I'm no stranger to facts and figures and logic, but there was no logic in it. It was a bad day for my personal quality of life. But it is someone else's cup of tea. I'm sure there must be someone who likes doing that. One person's grind is another person's groove, and this was beyond my grind. But there must be people who like doing this. And it's made me think, I meet so many people, quite a lot of older people. And there's kind of two camps. There are people who never want to retire. They just want to keep on going as long as they can because they love what they're doing. And then there's a group who wish they could retire years ago because they hate what they're doing. And I think, well, why don't you change then? And quite often they say, oh, I'm too old, which is quite often mentioned as a fact of life. I am this age, so therefore I'm too old to change careers, or feeling that they can't study, they can't learn, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, which, by the way, you can. It just depends on the intelligence and willingness of the dog. And the same goes for people, if you want to learn something new, go for it. And money, of course, money is quoted as well, because people who are settled in their career, they've usually come along a trajectory, and with age and hopefully competence comes a bigger paycheck. And if they have to start all over again, then the pay will start over again as well. I can testify to that. The NHS does not do that that kind of thing where they go like, oh, you've got this kind of experience, so therefore let's start you at a different level from everybody else. No, you're a band 2 healthcare assistant, so there you go, that's your lot. It has made me wonder before, how do people choose their career? Some people just fall into a job. They do some sort of, whatever it is, summer job or a job next to study or whatever it is, and they kind of roll into something which they have a knack for or they find interesting. Or I met this man, and he makes prosthetics, which is, of course, very, very useful job. It's quite intricate. He needs to be good with people. He needs to be good with materials. It's creative. There aren't that many of them. You don't see at a school job fair someone making prosthetics, perhaps because they don't need that many of them, thank goodness. But still, it's not something you've heard of, so it's not something a random person would aspire to do. You need to get the inspiration from somewhere, or the idea that that's what you want to do. So yeah, you can roll into something, fall into something. So for the past 20 to 30 years, it's been pushed to go to university, especially in Great Britain. University seems to be the be all and end all. And it didn't really matter what you were studying. It could be very, very, very vague. And in Great Britain, they are referred to as Mickey Mouse studies. I'm not sure what people learn at those studies, but the general consensus is not very much useful. And then, so next to that trend of, oh, people need to go to university, there's also a trend of looking down on people who do the manual work. And it hasn't got that much of a status than whatever the Mickey Mouse paper allows you to do, which quite often is work in an office where you're such a small part of such a big machinery that you haven't got a clue what you're doing. You may know what your task is, but the greater picture can be very elusive. Whilst if you've got a manual job, quite often you can see what you're actually doing. If you're a plumber, you can see the beginning, the middle and the end. If you're a baker, you can see your ingredients and you can see the product that ends up in the shop. For me as a healthcare assistant, I can see the tasks that need doing, as in, for example, cleaning up a patient. It's not a glamorous job at all, but it is very satisfying when you see someone who is not pleased with his or her situation, and rightfully so. And once everything is clean and tidy and, it's all good and the person is happy again, that is satisfying, no matter how lowly the job is looked at. So this university manual labor thing, it's a kind of status thing. And a lot of people strive for status. Personally, I couldn't care less, but that is my background, that is my upbringing, that I I really couldn't care less what someone's status is, which has gotten me into trouble in Great Britain, where status is really a thing. Years ago, if you would work at the railway or work at the post office or were a teacher, or, there were certain jobs, well, most jobs, even if you were a plumber or you name it, most jobs were jobs for life. So choosing a career was kind of important because, there was this one lane with some sort of trajectory in it, but that was your lot. Whilst nowadays life is more messy. Also, there are seasons in your life where, especially for women who've got children, and I don't want to say that there are no men who are looking after the children, and quite often it's still the women who are looking after children, that creates its own seasons in life when they're very young, when they're going to school, and then when they're off to university. That creates different seasons in your life. And for everyone, when parents become older or elderly, that's a different season in life again. And then you may have grandchildren yourself and you retire, and that's a new season in life. So the one part of it is, it used to be that you had a job for life, which isn't anymore. And within it isn't anymore nowadays, there's also seasons of your life. So people have to be a bit more flexible nowadays, and it's also more expected now to be more flexible. Then there's this fulfillment part of work. Quite often nowadays, people think that work has to provide them with every aspect of their life. It has to be nice and exciting, and it has to provide them with a good paycheck, and there needs to be emotional support at work, and you need to be able to fulfill yourself at work. Work is becoming everything, whilst in the past work tended to be more work, and then there was some free time where you could have hobbies, or where people, were meeting friends outside of work. Time is changing a bit, that work has to provide more aspects of people's life. Also, why or how people choose their careers is, what is their goal in life? Are they striving for a big paycheck? Are they striving to travel a lot? Are they striving to have a family? Are they striving for status or power? And they will all lead to different trajectories, different kinds of jobs. And with that as well, and I think with all the things I've just mentioned, you have to keep in mind what kind of person you are. So there's this trait activation theory, and it's about that you thrive when work lets you express your natural traits. So for introverts, it would be more solo work. For extroverts, it would be more customer facing. For outdoorsy types, it could be things like a mountain guide. For indoorsy types, it could be more like office work. I know these are very crude ways of looking at it, but you get the gist. So if you are looking for financial success, and you look at Tony Robbins and you think, oh, wow, he's amazing and he does all those things. But actually you are an introvert, that might not be the right career for you. Whilst if you were to go trading on the stock market, that might be more your thing. So within your chosen life goal, you have to find what suits you within that. Now, if you mix and mismatch the trait activation theory, where you go for the natural traits and look where you thrive, if you mix that and mismatch it, it zaps your energy. Like for me, setting up my Google account, it's horror. It's absolute horror. It explains why there is such a big gap. So I think I looked at it yesterday, and it was the 13th of March that I got a kind of final decision from Google from halfway January. So it was definitely 2 months that has been an issue. and I had to let it sit and let it wait and not do anything with it till what is today, 20, 21, 22, 23rd of July, where I actually got my back together enough that I dared to open that particular can of worms and try again. That's how much it affects me. So that is a definite mix and mismatch. It zaps my energy to the point where I had to go to bed to sleep because I was done for the day. So if you're at the beginning of your life, and even when you're at any point in your life, if you think, I'm not sure I'm at the right place, but where do I start? What do I do? You can look online for personality tests, and it will explore your natural traits. What would suit you? And within those given parameters, you can go and look. You can find things that interest you and check it out. Check it out. What are your natural preferences? Reflect on the times where you felt energized, where you did something and you thought, you forgot time. You just loved what you were doing. I don't care what it was. And find something similar to that. I once watched one of those moving shows where they take people and, look at different houses in a different area. And there was this organization that bred puppies for, I can't remember whether it was for sight or for help. Anyway, kind of guide dog puppy breeding program. And, there were people there who were cuddling puppies. I mean, play with puppies. That's amazing, and train puppies. And when you think of it, you think, oh, yeah, someone needs to do that. But it could be you if that's what you like. So maybe, if you've done something, whatever it was, it can be so weird and wonderful. Try and look into that and see what kind of jobs are connected with that, or go and volunteer, that you get your fix that way. That's fine as well. But you spend so much time at work. If you can make it into your work, that would be amazing. And try things out. Shadow people. If you're interested in something, a lot of people are just delighted to help you along, to let you shadow them and give you tips and tricks as to how to take the next steps and what to do in order to do something similar as they do. You can also track how you feel when you do certain things, when you do certain tasks. How does it make you feel? Again, mentally, physically, emotionally, even spiritually. If you find things that consistently make you happy and energized, then do more of that. So there's so much more to say about this. And if you've got questions or additional ideas for podcasts, by all means, let me know. I think as a conclusion, it's to be gentle to yourself. Yesterday for me was a really rotten day, but it is only a small part of the things I do. I had to get through it in order to do the things that I'm really good at and that do give me energy and do give me satisfaction. So I actually like podcasting. I actually love to do therapy, although therapy can sometimes leave me drained in a way, but that's because I'm so focused on the person that I forget everything around me. And by the end of it, I think, oh, flipping heck, that was a long time and I'm tired now. But it's a good kind of tired. It's not the drained kind of tired where, where you can't put one foot in front of the other. So for me, that's a good thing. Now, for you, it might be the other way around. And for you, setting up Google business accounts is easy and it is fulfilling and it gives you energy. If that's the case, well, here's a business idea. Create a helpline, a place that people can call when they're in trouble, and pitch it to Google. Pitch it to Google so you can go into the back office of what for example, I was trying to do, and so that you can help out. At the moment, I've got my account, so I wouldn't be one of your customers, hopefully. But there are a lot of other people like me. And in that case, you would be a godsend. Right, that's it for today. Thank you for listening, and until we meet again, see you. Bye-bye.